Hi, everybody, and welcome back. My name is Melissa, and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. So today's tip is consider going small. I live in a 400 square foot tiny home. It is me and my teenage kid. It is tight. There are definitely sacrifices that have to be made. I have only had my entire closet for like 12 to 18 months now. Before that, my kid had clothes in my closet, shoes in my closet. If you look right now, we are in a purge kind of a stage. So getting rid of a bunch of stuff, but my house is an absolute wreck because 400 square feet, you can't organize yourself out of clutter in 400 square feet. There is no amount of organization. I mean, I have tons of hidden spaces. The chair that I am sitting on right now, it has a hinge on it like a piano bench, and it has storage in it. It's my junk chair. Like, you have a junk drawer, I have a junk chair. My rubber bands and random stuff, rulers and such, are in this chair. Another one has hot pads. My kid has one in his room with like notebooks and oh yeah, the other one had like I completely forgot I have a label maker. Um so yeah, you can't organize yourself out of the clutter. There's no choice but to get rid of it. Which to me is actually kind of a good thing. It's just frustrating right now because I'm in transition, and transition's always frustrating in a tiny home. Um but there are so many benefits too. Would it be nice if I didn't have to hear my kid yelling and hollering because they're playing online with their friends? Absolutely. That would be great. But also, could I live, could I live on a lake and have a yard and do all that and keep my housing expenses under $1,000 if it wasn't tiny? No, I could not. And you're probably wondering, how do I keep that? So I will probably spend just over $800. I guesstimated at $810 in a year for propane. And this year was high. Last year it was like 500 and something, like just barely over 500. This year I spent more because we had a lot of really, really cold days, like in single digits, below zero. And once you hit a certain temperature, because of the way a park model is designed, you need to make sure to keep your heat up, especially because you don't want frozen pipes. So there's that. Because I mean, even though I have like heat tape and stuff, for those of you who are aware, you still don't want to, you don't want your pipes to burst. I screwed up and had one burst already in like January because I forgot to unhook the outside water, but that's a story for another day. Um, so unusually high propane. My electric is up this year. Normally in the winter it's like $30, $35, and it's been running like 40 to 50, and I can't figure out where I'm using all of this electricity. So I mean, I have all LED lights. I don't know, maybe my freezer is using a bunch of it. I can't figure out where that's at. I don't know. My kid does have a habit of leaving lights and fans and all sorts of random things on and forgetting they're on. So I don't. But even then, I don't know if that could be a full like $10 to $15. So that's high. And then during the summer, it's normally 70 to 90. So probably about $65 a month on average if you even it out, because I mean, really, I only have it at 90 for like a couple months a year, and then it's like in the $50 to $70 range in like the other months. So not much. My taxes are really cheap. My taxes are like $500 a year, so let's say 600, that's like $50. My HOA fees are expensive. They went up. They started out, they were like $1,600 when I bought. Now they're like $2,200. So that's significant. That's like almost, that's like what, 185-ish, 100, it was $183 a month. But also then I don't have to pay for water or garbage because that's included. So really, I mean, my insurance is like $1,000 a year. So really, I mean, my expenses are pretty small. My total housing expenses are under $1,000 a month when you average it all out. I mean, some months are obviously more, but really not that bad. So I'm and where can you go and rent a 2-bedroom apartment for $1,200 a month? I don't know of any that you can. Maybe I don't know, maybe in like some areas you could rent a 2-bedroom for 1,200, but that's like before all of your utilities. And we use our hotspots um for internet, so there's that. My cell phone bill's kind of expensive. But still, I mean, my cell phone bill is going to be expensive regardless of the size of my house. So, obviously, a 400 square foot home is not an option for everybody. You have 10 kids. Yeah, I wouldn't, that would be like 4 square feet a person. And honestly, I really think optimally you need 200 square feet for the family minimum, and then 200 square foot per person, just like as a general rule for space. So optimally, I think that my kid and I would be in an optimal space situation in like a 600 square foot home. And I feel like also, like, if we had a garage, or if I had a greenhouse, like, we don't have a garage, we have like a teeny tiny shed. So I feel like that also plays into it. And I definitely wish I had a garage. I feel like I could do so much if I had a garage. But my expenses are low. So maybe that's not an option for you, but do you need to get a 7-bedroom home? I mean, can you have kids double up in a room? My dad is one of 9, and his parents raised 9 kids, so 11 people in the house, in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home. The girls all had, like, the 6 girls shared this one room that was like this long, weird shaped room, and then the 3 boys had the other room. But I think my dad said by the time he was in middle school, he was in the basement, and it was an unfinished basement, but that's where his room was. He like had like a rug and I don't know, a curtain or something. I don't know if he had even walls, but my grandma had very scary basement stairs, so I never went down there. I was scared enough of my grandma's stairs. I had this weird fear as a child of, and it was a nightly nightmare of falling downstairs. So creepy stairs I didn't go down. But you for centuries we lived in smaller homes. Look at like the old log cabins. So there's this place not that far from me, and it's called Blackberry Farm, and it's pretty cool. It's run by the park district, and they have like pony rides and stuff, but it's got like a history museum, and it's got like the schoolhouse that they moved down to the out of the property, and it's got like a log cabin. And in the log cabin, you've got the main room, which had like the parents' bed and the kitchen and the fireplace and I don't know, like a baby crib or whatever, all in one main room. And then the back room was like where the tools were. And then up there was the loft, and that's where the kids slept. And like that's how people did it. So now we're all like, I need my own room and I need this and everything. And well, I can respect the need for space. What can you go without when you look, it are you moving out on your own for the first time? Consider a roommate. And I mean, don't get me wrong, roommates suck. They're so miserable most of the time. But you know what's not miserable? Only having to pay half the rent. When that rent comes due, and instead of having to pay, for me it was 600. So instead of 600 it was 300, but I mean that was like 25 years ago. So now you're looking at 1200, and so instead of 600. And just so you know, like the 600, we had a studio apartment in Lincoln Park, Chicago. So it was teeny, teeny, tiny. And we had a futon, but we had different schedules. So for the most part, we each had, I worked nights, she worked days. So we could share the futon if need be, but most of the time we were not in bed at the same time. So it wasn't a big deal. So there's that. And then, it 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 works out well. And then maybe you're a couple or a family looking, I mean, can your kids double up? Obviously, a teenager and a toddler can't. Obviously, if you're buying and the kids are going to grow from toddlers into teenagers and they're not the same gender, that's going to create an issue in a few years. But look at stuff like that. What rooms don't you need? You do not need a guest room. I mean, a guest room is one of the most underused, overvalued home rooms in a home. Like it's such a waste of money most of the time. Do you need a home office? Now, for me, a home office would be great. I do YouTube videos, so that would be perfect. I mean, obviously, instead of the kitchen, maybe I could, have a cute little decoration, and that might be more entertaining for y'all. But I don't work from home for the most part, so a home office would be a waste for me. Obviously, if you work from home, if you own your own business, that's a little bit different. But what can you go without? What is something you can go without in a home that's not a deal breaker? Look at the structure. When you're buying, you should be looking at the structure of the home more than the pretty stuff. I mean, like, who cares what color the walls are? I remember when I was looking at this, I looked at a bunch of houses in the area, and swear to God, like lipstick on a pig. These people are like, oh, we just completely redid it. Dude, I could have put a ball in the corner of most of these houses because the foundation was so uneven, and the ball would have rolled one way or the other. Like, and you could physically see the floor was on an angle. And I'm not just talking park models. I'm talking like houses with concrete foundations where you could tell. But like, I don't know. I know there was a lot of mining in this area at one point. They found fossils and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe it's that, but they didn't fix things like roofs, furnaces, windows, insulation, heaters. Oh, I said furnaces, water heaters. They didn't fix structural stuff. They slapped a coat of paint on, normally gray, toss some new carpet in. And let me tell you, it doesn't take much to paint walls. I mean, you've got like a 1,200 square foot home, especially back in like 2019, like you could get it carpeted for under 2,000 and you could paint it for a few hundred. And it just, I mean, all of a sudden you think that this house that was absolute trash is worth, you know, twice as much. No, it's not. So when you're buying, beware, because everybody wants to flip their houses, and a lot of them, all they do is they slap a coat of paint on and toss in new carpeting. And that's not worth it. So I mean, look at what you're getting. Just look at size, what you can do without. Look at structure. Look at insulation. But mainly consider going a little bit smaller, because seriously, well, I understand a tiny home's not an option for everybody. You can save a ton of money. How many of you out there still have a mortgage or rent and have your total housing expenses under $1,000 a month? Honestly, that doesn't include groceries. It's like housing only. But how many of you can say that on an annual basis, if you take all your bills and average them out, because obviously, like, you pay your homeowner's insurance annually, your taxes annually, or biannually, or whatever, twice a year. But how many of you can average out your total home expenses, have them be less than $1,000 a month? Really? Serious question. I really want to know. And if you can, and you have a mortgage or rent, I want to know what market you're in, and if it's also a tiny home, or if you have managed to figure out something else, because honestly, that is absolutely amazing. Or if you are living in a 2-bedroom with 12 roommates, then, maybe. But honestly, even though tiny's not an option for everybody, you can figure out other places to sacrifice. Anyways, again, my name's Melissa, and this year I am sharing 365 tips for frugal living. If you want to hear more, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.